We're gonna be doing a filling on number 20. Before I show you guys how to fill the tooth, let's discuss the anatomy of it first. So compared to the molars we've been doing, this teeth is a lot smaller. And also, even though on the surface, if you look at quick glance, this teeth looks like it's symmetrical, but it's not, because the mesiolingual cusp is much higher than the distal-lingual. Also, the way it comes up on the buccal cusp is actually more buccal than it is on the lingual too. So keep that in consideration when you're filling, when you're doing the filling. Also, here, the buccal cusp, instead of having two planes, there's a supplemental groove here, making this into 3 triangles. One here, and one here. And there's a bulge in the middle of the tooth that looks like a little eye, like a cyclops, so right here. So to make sure to put that in when you're doing it. And then the two, the mesial and distal fossas are pretty symmetrical. So, alright, so let's start filling it. The marginal ridge, right now I've already filled in composite in the box. The marginal ridge for this teeth should be about 1.5 millimeters thick, because that's where the place of the mesial fossa is. And also, it dips in, so it's not flat. So make sure to give it a little dip. That's not so important, because you can do that afterwards and shave it down. The problem with doing this teeth after doing all the molars we've been doing is that it's much smaller. So I always tend to put too much composite in, so be careful. It needs a lot less composite than the other one. And sometimes when you are using a V3 system, if the adaptation of your matrix band is not perfect, and you're getting some overhang, like I did here, like my V3 band is not on perfectly, you can actually do this to the composite right before you cure it, so you don't have that much overhang. Fold it over.
Do you recommend using this band over the regular matrix band?
I do.
Why is that?
Because the original band was made for amalgam. So it's made to fit very tightly, but then it kind of comes up in like a funnel shape, so you don't get good contact. I've heard from people who, on real patients, when the contact's not great, you get food stuck in your mouth, and you don't want that. I mean, in between your teeth. So this one, it's a lot faster to put on, and the results come out a lot faster. And it's good to run and explore around your marginal ridge to get rid of any excess. I think I'm ready to cure. And once I start using a sectional matrix, I never went back or used the composite. So this tooth is much smaller than the first molar. So when I'm doing the first layer, I'm putting very little. Well, how much I'm putting? Just that much. So you put any more than that, you're not going to have any room to build your cuts in, and the anatomy is not going to look good. Let's just put really little, just to fill out the corners on the bottom. And again, no opposing walls because you want to decrease C factor. And so for this teeth, I'm gonna build the buccal cuss first, and then the distal lingual cuss, and then the mesial lingual cuss. Really little composite, don't overbuild it. So I'm building the buccal cuss here, and as I mentioned earlier, there is a supplemental groove here and here, 3 triangles on this cuss. So actually for this tooth, I'm gonna use my waxing instrument. We all have these in our kits, and they're actually perfect mixing supplemental grooves because of the shape they're in. So I'm gonna take this, put on this gap here first. And just press it really lightly, like this. And then press it one more time really lightly, like this. And if you make the supplemental grooves too big, just take your bold instrument and flatten it out again. Make sure to get rid of all the excess before you cure, so you don't have to polish after. Alright. Now I'm going to do the distal lingual groove cups. Amazing how little composite I need. See this little gap here? I decided to cure this cuss first because if I try to add a little more with this cuss, the anatomy is not going to come out well. So I decided to cure this, and then I'm going to have a little bit of composite to fill in this little gap here. Here. And actually I noticed I underbuilt my buccal cuss a little bit, so I'm going to take this opportunity to add on it before I'm building my mesiolingual cuss, because this cuss you want it to be the last cuss to build because it's going to go over the buccal cuss. So add a little layer, and when you're adding, it's very important not to do a smearing motion because that will make your composite really rough. It's important to just put it in and pat it down really lightly. See how I'm doing it like this? This way your composite will not come out bumpy or rough. And I'm going to add my supplemental grooves in. now like my buccal cuts looks like it's at the right height. I'm gonna add my last cut, so the mesiolingual one. And this one's a little higher than the distal lingual, and it goes up on the buccal cuts more. It's gonna need a little bit more composite. And we're done.